My name is Eileen, and I am 54 years old. For the past 6 months, the greatest source of both my joy and a slow, gnawing dread has been my only son Michael's engagement to a woman named Chloe. 3 weeks before the wedding, the call came. It wasn't my son. It was Chloe. Her voice was sweet as syrup, and her words were cold as steel. She told me for the harmony of their new beginning, it would be best if I didn't attend the ceremony. Before I share how I responded to that gut-wrenching betrayal, I have to ask you something. Where are you listening from today? If you have ever felt the sting of being pushed out by someone who doesn't know your worth, hit that like button. It lets me know I am not alone in this. And subscribe, because this story takes a turn you won't see coming, and I would hate for you to miss the moment the truth walked right through those chapel doors. I want to tell you about my son Michael. He is 32, a civil engineer, with a kind smile and his father's thoughtful eyes. After my husband David passed away too young, it was just Michael and me. We built a quiet, trusting life together. He was the kid who saved his allowance to buy me a birthday present, the man who never missed our Sunday dinner, even when work was crazy. When he told me he was engaged last spring, my heart swelled. I was so happy he had found someone. He brought Chloe to our favorite Italian place to introduce us. She was 28, stunningly pretty, with glossy dark hair and a confident smile. She worked as an event planner. She laughed at all his jokes and held his hand across the table. But her eyes, a bright clear blue, never quite smiled at him when he wasn't looking. They scanned the room, appraised the decor, lingered on the watch of a man at another table. She called me Eileen right away. Not Mrs. Walker or even Mum, which felt premature, but I shrugged it off. Maybe I was just an old-fashioned mother. She talked about the wedding she envisioned. Small, elegant, exclusive. She mentioned a specific, very expensive vineyard chapel. Michael just watched her talk, a look of dazed admiration on his face. I left that dinner feeling a strange hollowness beneath my happiness. It felt like I had just met a very skilled salesperson, not a future daughter-in-law. Things began to shift quickly after that. Chloe moved into Michael's condo almost immediately. Our Sunday dinners started getting cancelled. Chloe wants to try this new brunch place, just the two of us, Mum. We're meeting with the wedding planner, sorry. The excuses were always delivered by Michael, but they had Chloe's phrasing. When I did see him, he seemed tired, a little distant. He talked a lot about investments and property values, topics he'd never been obsessed with before. Chloe, he said, was helping him plan for their future. One afternoon, I visited their condo with a homemade pie. Chloe answered the door in designer loungewear. The place felt different. My son's comfortable, slightly messy bachelor pad was gone, replaced by minimalist furniture and cold, trendy art. My photos of him, the ones I'd given him over the years, were nowhere to be seen. Chloe chatted brightly about the wedding plans. She mentioned my dress. I was thinking a lovely champagne lace for you, Eileen, she said. Something mature, but stylish. I know a place. I'll take you. It wasn't an offer. It was a directive. She was redesigning me too. That night I cried for the first time. It wasn't jealousy. It was a deep maternal alarm bell ringing in my soul. This wasn't right. But I convinced myself I was being possessive. My boy was in love. I had to trust him. Then came the phone call. It was a Tuesday morning. I knew it was Chloe from the caller ID, and my stomach tightened. Eileen, hi, she chirped. I hope you're well. Listen, Michael and I have been doing a lot of premarital counseling, really focusing on building healthy boundaries for our new family unit. She paused, as if waiting for me to agree. I stayed silent, and she continued, her tone dipping into false sympathy. We both feel that your dynamic with Michael, it's a little enmeshed. It causes him stress. For the harmony of our wedding day and our marriage, we think it's best if you don't attend the ceremony. You can watch the live stream, of course. It's just cleaner this way. The world tilted. I gripped the kitchen counter. Does Michael know you're calling me? I managed to ask. Her voice turned smooth and firm. This is a joint decision, Eileen. We want to start our lives without drama. She hung up. The betrayal was a physical blow. But worse was the thought of my son agreeing to this. I called his cell. It went to voicemail. I texted. Hours later, he replied, "Mum, I'm so sorry. Chloe explained it better. It's complicated. It's not about you, it's about us. I'll call you soon." He never did. That silence from my own child was the deepest wound. The passive, obedient tone of his text told me everything. He was under her spell. And I realized then this wasn't just a difficult girl. This was something darker. My hope shattered, but in its place rose a fierce, clear determination. I was not going to sit by while my son married a woman who would cut his mother out of his life without a blink. If she would do this, what else was she capable of hiding? I had to know. For the first time in my life, I decided to investigate someone. I am a retired research librarian. Quiet observation and finding hidden connections are skills I've honed over a lifetime. I started with what I knew: social media. Chloe's profiles were curated perfection photos with Michael fancy dinners, inspirational quotes. But I looked deeper. I scanned the comments on old posts, looking for names. I found a friend from years ago who tagged a Chloe Mercer in a wedding photo album. Mercer. Michael called her Chloe Barrett, saying Barrett was her mother's maiden name, which she used professionally. The discrepancy was a tiny hook. I grabbed it. Using library database access I still had, I began searching public records, focusing on the state Chloe's old friend was from. It felt like a violation, and the guilt was heavy. But the image of Michael's confused, manipulated face pushed me forward. Days later, in the digital archives of a county clerk's office, 2,000 miles away, I found it. A marriage license. Chloe Ann Mercer to Daniel Paul Reeves. Dated 6 years and 7 months ago. My blood ran cold. I searched frantically for a divorce decree. Nothing. I paid for a more thorough private search using money from my meager rainy day fund. 48 agonizing hours later, the report arrived. No record of divorce proceedings for Chloe Mercer or Chloe Reeves in any state jurisdiction. She was still legally married. The gold digger was also a bigamist. I sank into my chair, trembling. This was so much worse than I imagined. Now I had proof, but what good was it Michael might not believe me? He might think I forged it. I needed the source. I needed Daniel. Finding Daniel Reeves was the next step. The marriage license listed his age and the town. A simple search of the high school in that town showed a Daniel Reeves listed in the faculty directory as a music teacher. There was a small picture. He had a kind, gentle face, sandy hair, and warm eyes. He looked like someone's nice older brother. My heart ached for him. What had this woman done to him? I composed an email, erased it, composed another. Finally, I decided to call the school. I asked for Mr. Reeves, saying I was a parent, inquiring about music lessons. When he came on the line, his voice was calm and patient. "This is Daniel Reeves." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Reeves, my name is Eileen Walker. This is going to sound very strange, but I believe you were married to a woman named Chloe Mercer." The silence on the other end was profound. Then a quiet, pained sigh. "Yes, I was. I am," he said. "Who are you?" I told him. I was the mother of the man she was about to marry in 3 weeks. I told him about the phone call, banning me from the wedding. I heard his breath catch. "That sounds like her," he said, his voice thick with an old sadness. We agreed to meet. He drove 4 hours to a quiet diner near my town. He looked just like his picture, maybe a little more tired. He wore a simple wedding band. He told me their story. High school sweethearts married young. He was teaching, she was restless. She talked about big cities, money, a glamorous life he couldn't give her. After 1.5 years, she left. Just a note saying she needed more. He never filed for divorce. Part hope, part poverty, part denial. He showed me pictures of them together, a younger, softer-looking Chloe, with her arm around him. He showed me a copy of their marriage certificate. It was real. We sat in that vinyl booth, 2 complete strangers, bound by the destructive wake of one person. We weren't angry conspirators. We were two sad people who needed to stop a train wreck. We have to tell Michael, I said. Daniel nodded slowly, but it has to be where she can't talk her way out of it, where the truth is undeniable. He looked at me and I saw the same resolve in his eyes. The wedding. We would go to the wedding. The morning of the wedding was overcast. I put on a simple navy blue dress, not champagne, not lace. It was the color of depth and truth. I looked at myself in the mirror, a 54-year-old woman about to walk into a firestorm. I was terrified. Not for myself, but for Michael. This would break his heart, but a broken heart heals. A fraudulent marriage leaves a permanent stain. Daniel met me at a park and ride. He was wearing a respectable grey suit, his face pale but set. He carried a simple folder. We drove the rest of the way in near silence, the weight of what we were about to do filling the car. The Vineyard Chapel was as exclusive as Chloe had wanted, perched on a hill. We parked among the luxury cars. We could hear the faint sound of organ music. Guests in fine clothes were milling about. I saw some of Michael's friends. Their eyes widened when they saw me. I offered a small, tight smile and walked past them, Daniel at my side. We entered through the large wooden doors at the back of the chapel. The scene was like a painting. Flowers everywhere. Soft light filtering through stained glass. And there at the altar stood my Michael in his black tuxedo, looking handsome and terribly young. Next to him, radiant in a gown worth more than my car, was Chloe. The minister was speaking. We walked slowly up the center aisle. A rustle went through the crowd. A guest gasped. Chloe's gaze, sweeping over her audience, landed on me. Her perfect smile froze, then cracked into a mask of pure, unvarnished horror. She then saw Daniel. Her face drained of all color. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Michael followed her stare. When he saw me, confusion and guilt flashed across his face. Then he saw the man beside me. The music faltered and stopped. The minister paused, looking bewildered. Every head turned. The silence was absolute, heavy as stone. I stopped a few rows from the front. My voice, when it came, was clear and steady, echoing in the quiet space. Michael, I am so sorry to interrupt your day, but I could not let you do this without knowing the full truth. I gestured to Daniel. He stepped forward, his eyes locked on Chloe. He didn't shout. He just spoke her full legal name. Chloe Ann Mercer Reeves. He held up the folder. I am still your husband. We have never been divorced. For a second there was no sound. Then Chloe exploded. Liar! She screamed, her voice shrill, shattering the sanctity of the space. You're a stalker. She paid you to do this. Michael, get them out. She clutched at Michael's arm, her nails digging in. But Michael wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at Daniel. He was looking at the profound, quiet sorrow in the man's eyes. He was looking at me, at the tears streaming silently down my face, at the love and desperation there. He looked back at Chloe, at her furious, panicked, ugly expression. The scales fell from his eyes. I saw it happen. The confusion cleared, replaced by a dawning, horrific understanding. Slowly, firmly, he peeled her fingers from his arm. He took a step away from her towards me. That single step was the end of her fantasy. Chloe let out a wail of rage, a guttural sound that didn't belong in a chapel. The spell was broken. The wedding was over. After the chaos, after Chloe was led away, sobbing by her mortified parents, after the guests were ushered out in a stunned whisper, the three of us stood in a small wood-paneled office attached to the chapel. Michael was ashen, his hands shaking. He looked at Daniel. Is it true? He asked, his voice rough. Daniel wordlessly opened the folder and handed him the certified copies of the marriage license and the results of the divorce search. Michael scanned them, his shoulders slumping with each line. He sank into a chair, covering his face. I'm sorry, Daniel said softly. I'm so sorry you got caught up in this. It was an extraordinary thing to say. Michael looked up, his own eyes wet. You have nothing to be sorry for. He then turned to me, the full weight of his shame in his gaze. Mum, all those things she said, about you being controlling, about needing distance. I believed her. I'm so sorry. We talked for an hour. Daniel told his story again. Michael told his, how Chloe had isolated him from friends, criticized his relationship with me, taken over his finances, to help how he felt like he was constantly trying to earn her approval. He said the ban on me attending was her idea, but she'd framed it as a test of his loyalty to their new family. He'd been so desperate not to fail, not to lose her, that he went along with it. He felt like a fool. I just held his hand and let him talk. Daniel left quietly, giving us his number. If you need anything or have any legal questions, he said. Michael shook his hand, a gesture of respect between two wounded men. That night, Michael came to my house. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place we'd had 1,000 Sunday dinners. He was different. The fog was gone. He was heartbroken, humiliated, but clear-eyed. We made a plan. He would change all his bank accounts, passwords, and locks. He would contact a lawyer. He would start therapy to understand how he'd been so manipulated. For the first time in months, I had my son back. The weeks that followed were painful, but clean. Michael moved out of the condo he'd shared with Chloe. He found a smaller, sun-filled apartment. Our Sunday dinners returned, and the conversations were real, sometimes difficult but honest. He received a formal letter from a lawyer representing Daniel, initiating divorce proceedings on the grounds of abandonment, with a copy sent to Michael for his records. It was the final legal period on the sentence. Michael framed it in a strange way. He said it was a reminder to always look for the official record, not just the pretty presentation. He started dating again, slowly, cautiously. He said he now listens for the silence in a conversation, not just the flattery. As for me, the sharp pain has faded to a dull, wise ache. I learned that a mother's love sometimes has to be a shield, even if holding it up means standing against the person you're protecting. I learned that truth, no matter how devastating, is a gift. And I saw that grace can come from the most unexpected places, like a quiet music teacher from another state who helped me save my son. The storm passed. It left damage, but it also cleared the air. Now, when I look at Michael, I see a man who learned a terrible lesson, but grew stronger from it. And I see a son who knows without a doubt that my love for him is a safe harbor, not a prison. That is the peace I carry with me now. If you have ever had to make a tough choice to protect someone you love, I would really like to hear about it in the comments below. Sharing our stories helps us all feel less alone. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like to let me know. It means more than you think. And if you want to join me for more real stories about finding strength in difficult times, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. If you know someone who might need to hear this today, please share it with them. Thank you so much for listening, for being here, and for being part of this community. Remember, even on the darkest days, you are never without power. You are never without hope. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.